Hello YouTube, I'm Toby. Now in today's video we're going to turn a HP Pavilion P6 into a Counter-Strike Global Offensive gaming machine. So without further ado, let me introduce the computer.
Alright, so here we have the actual computer. It's an HP Pavilion. I'm still not exactly sure what the exact name of this is, but if we start from the front, we have a multimedia optical drive. It's pretty much just a DVD or CD drive. We have an SD card reader, mic, headphone jack, two USB 2.0 ports. It's very nice they label the fact that it's 2.0. HP Pavilion. I'm not sure what operating system this is running. It's probably Windows 7. And as you can tell here, we have an Intel i3. I believe this is second generation i3, but I'm not entirely sure. There's not much here on the side panel. We have the little code down here, but up here it does say that it's the HP Pavilion P6 series. We have some kind of support sticker here. Now on the other side we actually have some ventilation holes, and I have a suspicion that will probably be confirmed once we turn it over that yes, in fact we're going to be taking off the left side panel, not the right one as is standard. Something else here is that this seems to be our exhaust fan and the I/O shield, and the motherboard's probably down here. We do have some full-size PCIe slots right here, and up here we have the power supply. Now, the first thing I noticed taking this apart is that the air cooler is, well, pretty much just filled to the brink with the dust. And we have two sticks of RAM down here. I'm not sure what size these are. We have a hard disk over here. We have one full-size PCIe slot and three 1X slots. It does look like we may have Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if this is Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, but I think we're going to figure that one out. Now, to be honest, it doesn't really seem like there's very much going on in here. It seems to be a very basic computer design. Alright, so these were the internals. I think it's time we fire up this system and see if it actually works the way it's set up, or if we're going to have to clean it up a little bit. Now it does seem like the computer is functional. We have fan spin on all fans, but we're not getting anything on the screen yet. Now finally we're getting somewhere. All I had to do was switch over to a VGA and we got somewhere. Now this seems to be some kind of warning screen. We'll get to the warning, but it does say it's an Intel i3 at 2120 at 3300 megahertz. And we have 6 gigabytes of DDR3, one 4 gigabyte DIMM and one 2 gigabyte, so that's an odd mix. But the funny thing here is that it says that it's detecting an imminent failure on the drive in SATA 0. I'm not sure which one of the drives this is, but I have a suspicion it's the hard drive, so it's probably gonna die soon. Alright, so we have the spec sheet for the computer up. There's not much new here. We are running Windows 7 Home Premium, the activated version. Something else is that our processor is running around 50 degrees Celsius, which is to be expected with the way the heatsink is looking. Something else I noticed here is that under storage it says it's a 939 gigabytes Hitachi SATA solid state drive. Now this does not look like a solid state drive to me, so something's definitely fishy here. Also, that little expansion card I found was actually a Wi-Fi adapter. It's only 2.4 gigahertz, but that's fine.
Alright, so the basics of the benchmarks are complete, and I have to tell you things are looking kind of promising. Now the Cinebench R15 score tells me that the CPU should be somewhat capable of gaming. I don't think it's going to be capable of much more than CSGO, so that's where I'm gonna draw the line today. Now the next step in this build is selecting some components and installing them in the system, of course. Now these components I've selected is 60GB SSD, because that's all I had, so I'm going to use that for a boot drive. Now I also have a USB 3 PCIe adapter. Since this case does not come with the USB 3, I figured that might be very useful for something like this. Also, I have a Molex cable that is not connected to anything right now because the power supply in this system does not have Molex, so I'm going to have to splice a Molex connector onto the actual power supply. Now right here you see a GT730. I'm actually going to be installing a GT1030 in this system since I just realized I had it laying around. I had it in another system that I don't use, so I figured it might have a better life in this system. And the operating system of choice is Windows 10 Pro. Now, due to the fact that there is no room for an actual 120mm intake fan, I've decided to not install it. Also, looking around the case, there really wasn't any use for an intake fan since it could not effectively draw in air. So instead, I decided to take the exhaust fan and pretty much just turn it around. Now I know this isn't the optimal solution, but for this build I think it'll be just fine, and it will definitely have to do. There's no actual SSD mounting space in this case for the SSD, so I pretty much just put it in and, well, put it in pretty much. If I decide to sell the system sometime down the line, I'll definitely have to figure a better solution than just having it hang there, but for right now it will do just fine. Now next up, I installed the GT1030, and after that I installed the USB 3.0 adapter and then installed Windows 10 on the machine. I also decided to install some blue light just to make it that much more awesome. Now I did have a lot of issues with the drivers for the NVIDIA graphics card. I'm not entirely sure why, but every time I rebooted the system it caused errors, and I just barely managed to keep it active for long enough to run my secondary benchmarks. I think this may have something to do with the motherboard, also because it takes it like 5 minutes to start up, not from the Windows screen but from the actual post screen. Alright, so our second round of benchmarks are complete, and I have to admit I'm quite pleased with the results. Now, Cinebench score did drop a bit, but I think this is because I've had Steam and all that stuff running in the background that I didn't have before. So it only makes sense that our Cinebench score should drop just a little bit. Now, Counter-Strike Global Offensive actually ran quite smooth when Fraps wasn't running. It was somewhere around 70 FPS, but whenever I turn fraps on, it stuttering a little bit. So if you're seeing any stuttering in the footage from the fraps, that's pretty much just it. Now there's really not much else to talk about when it comes to the system. I still haven't figured out the driver issues or the startup boot issues, but it's something I can play around with for a little while, just by myself. But that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Do you think this is a cool system? Do you not think it's a cool system? Let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching.